Welcome back to the Punch channel. This is Panzer Battles, and it's Panzer Battles 11th Panzer on the Chir River, and it is published by Multi-Men Publishing. It's a standard combat series game, and it's designed by I was about to say Mark Simonich. That's not quite right. It's designed by Dean Essig. I've been playing Holland 44 at the office, and so sometimes there's a little potential for confusion, particularly when I'm only about this far through that first cup of coffee this morning. Speaking of which, all right. So, as I said before, it's a standard combat series of games. Whoop, don't quite need that. That. And that. I'm doing some cleanup. So, we're going to be here in turn 5, activation 3. Now, I've already drawn the chit. Today is the 29th, 6/29/26, and it's activation 3. I already drew the chit, which is, if I'd drawn a somewhat different chit, I might very well have just made the standard end of turn video. So, you know, the summary videos that I've been doing. So what I'm doing here is I'm just doing my cleanup, pulling off my dice sets. So I tend to keep several sets of dice over here. They're already set up, ready to go. And let's see. Here we are. Yay, DG counters. There don't seem to be enough DG counters in this set. So that is unfortunate, but I have plenty of other DG counters to work with, and they do come off from time to time, though not so frequently. In an activation-based game, it's possible to get really rather far behind on DG counters, but having an extra, for this game, an extra half dozen or so seems to have done the trick. So I've never quite run out. Right. So, yeah, as you can see over here, take these guys off. As you can see over here in this area, and I trust that at least part of this is on camera, I have preset dice, sets. The reds, of course, are for, let's center up a little. So this is a typical dice set. I have a kind of an X marker to put on top of the combat. Then a single die of the appropriate color, in this case red, for regular combat, and a couple of dice to show the actual die roll. The red, of course, is the odds. Now, some of the sets are already set up, and they are white dice to indicate an overrun combat. And right now, I think I've got, bear with me, I've got 2 over here on the side. And that's about as many as I've needed. You don't make a whole lot of, you can, but to get the odds that you need, typically, you wind up not making very many combats. The odds ratio, okay, that was not so good. I just lifted the entire corner of the map over near Cerro Vicino, so I'll have to put that right. So if you'll notice, this is the 3-to-1 odds right here, this column. And actually, here's 2-to-1. 2-to-1, the attacker is taking generally losses all the way through the 7 die roll, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 21 out of 36. 21 out of 36 chances to, and now actually it's not 36, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 36. Okay, it is 36. 36 chances on 2d6, and you'll lose something on 21 out of 36 as the attacker if you are 2 to 1. Now you're only going to lose what is this? 10 out of 36 if you're 3 to 1. So you generally want your attacks to be 3 to 1 or better. You're taking much more of a risk. You're being very risky and foolish, I think, almost, to take anything less than that. Sometimes, though, it's not foolishness, it is desperateness, if you will. But there's that. Okay, I didn't do too horribly over here. Yeah, okay. These are all not too bad. Here's the artillery, here's that. Now I have to wonder where this guy came from. And I do not know where he came from. I don't know at all. And I don't know where the DG counter was. So let me continue my cleanup and nattering on about things. Let's see, red arrows. So I like to use these plastic arrows. Here's an assortment of them: a white, a red. I have white and red markers. Oh, let me finish my cleanup here. That was, I actually needed that one because I got off of my dice sets. There we go. 5 regular attacks and a couple of overruns, and that has done very well for me most turns. So let's, oh, a couple of units, another DG counter, and that's another one of those. So really quite depleted over here. I'm going to have to look that unit up, so that means I'm going to have to come off camera for a bit, but I think we'll be fine. So let's zoom in a bit, because as I said before, the action is going to be, bear with me, how's that? Not horrible. The action is going to be with 11th Panzer again this turn, and 11th Panzer, with one exception, is entirely located over here. Now, with that one exception, I'm going to go ahead. So we drawn the chit. We're going to do barrages next, and let me get this guy out of here. Taking the book out. By the way, this a lot of the basis for this particular series of battles, the initial impetus at least, if not the research basis currently, is based on Panzer Battles, and it's by a Major General F.W. von Mellenthin. He was actually the, as I understand it, he was the Chief of Staff. I think he was the Chief of Staff of 11th Panzer. It was either 11th Panzer or it was 48th Panzer Corps. Either way, he was very involved in the goings-on here and in other places of note during World War II. Survived the war, and actually, yeah, he survived the war. He actually commanded briefly, I believe, an infantry division in Eastern France. Either Eastern France or Western Germany, there towards the war for a period of a few weeks. He was the available warm body, but by his own account, admittedly, did well. So, and of course, wrote his memoir that was used in the naming of this particular game. Right. So markers. So Yeah, so I've got a number of different kinds of markers that I use for different things. I've been sort of evolving, okay, what exactly do I think of these things here? And some of these markers are for different games. So right now, the primary markers are going to be these tan markers right here. I am utilizing for artillery, just to indicate this is where I shot artillery. And the last couple of turns, or last couple of videos, I figured out that I will indicate pointing towards the unit if I got a good result, and away from the unit if the barrage had no effect. So that's a thought. Gray, of course, is German movement. Red is Soviet movement, right? And they're not always particular or precise. It's more of a reminder to me, and oftentimes a general direction. But hopefully I won't steer you too far wrong, and hopefully it's reasonably understandable. I also like to think that that they help provide some breadcrumbs to keep you, the viewer, on track as well. I use the white for road march, and again, sometimes fairly vague, which I think you've seen it by now, where I'll indicate I started a road march here, and I'll end a road march, over here on another part of the road. Again, it's just reminders for me, and maybe kind of some wayposts. And the black I use, I've used the black occasionally. I'll use those for exploitation movement. I'll also use red for a retreat, white for an advance after combat. And that's pretty much all you need with that. So odds, dice roll, and odds, dice roll, right? For overrun and for, and the overruns can happen during movement or exploitation, that's fine. And the reds are for main combat phase. And so that's actually should work for a lot of different game systems. I have not really sunk my teeth into operational combat series yet. That is coming up. That is the on-deck game, is to do an OCS title. It'll be OCS Sicily. Okay, let's get this cast of odd characters off and be about the fun part of the turn. So I think I mentioned barrage phase. So that is next. So off camera over here, over in that direction to the northwest, there was Chuvalevsky. And Chuvalevsky has one 11th Armored infantry gun. So that's probably something like a 75 infantry gun that they used. And it's DG'd, so I'm going to attempt to shoot over here. I think I'm going against the large. Who am I going against? I'm either going against, there's a stack of 3 mortar units and there's a stack of others. I might just go against the mortar units. There's a large stack of units over there. You know what? I'm trying to describe something. Why can't I just show you on camera a bit? Let's zoom back out here and relocate just a little bit. And hopefully that's not too bad. And in fact, I'm going to do this number, and we'll come in and zoom. That'll work. Okay, for this little discussion. So I've got my DG unit here. Now, these 2 counters are out of position. This DG was either here or here. So I'm going to do a single shot. And a 1 is what I need. Huh. Look at that. I got a 1. So that means I'm going to DG whoever the heck wasn't already DG'd. So it's either going to be this stack or that stack. Those would be my target preferences in this case. Now I'm going to do another roll, and that's going to be the casualty roll. I need a 6 on this, and I got a 3. So that is the first chunk of turn, thus out of the way. And I'll come back and assess these as appropriate. I have no further 11th. Now that's a thought. I can't hit these guys. I don't have anybody in contact. I have to have either a spotter or somebody on a hill. So it won't be those guys. So my shooting the most dangerous target, it would have been the armor. So I'll find out where this DG counter was and place it appropriately, but there's no further action in this this area, this sector, this part of the battle, because I have no 11th Panzer units. So let's get the camera reconfigured back where it was. I'm doing all of this on an iPhone, by the way, for technical purposes, for technical interest. I'm going to come off camera and look at where to put that DG counter. I'll be right back. Okay. Pardon the shakiness. I'm just doing this by hand at the moment. To the best of my recollection, it was this stack that had the DG on it from the artillery fire previously. So, and that seems about right. So the artillery then would have gone against the armor stack right there, and that's what we've got. So let's get this fixed up, and we'll proceed with the balance of the turn here. Okay, so clear off a bit. So now the turn sequence is going to be about movement. So we'll just place this right here. Drawn the activation sheet. We're going to go for barrage. We've already done the one back over near Chuvalevsky. So the other artillery assets are the main division artillery right here, which is capable of going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So what's a good thing to do for that? We'll use this. That's 16, and further we'll go 17, 18, 19, 20. And because we have guns with a range of 16 right here, and 20, 16 and 20 just south of it. So the 16s are both in line, and they will have the same range as far as we're concerned here. So before I get into those, though, I do have a couple of artillery units here. I have an infantry gun. I have 2 infantry guns, as it turns out. I'll just restack those appropriately, and I don't think I have anything else here. No. Okay, so these 2 are going to attempt to shoot this hex, and they're both infantry guns. I need a 2. Let's see what we get. I did get a hit. Let's see if we get a kill. Negative. No kill. And the stack was already DG'd, so no additional effect. Now, other artillery assets. I have a mortar that's DG'd down to a 1.5 should round to a 2 by the rounding rule, as I understand it. So I've got that. Then I've got 2 more mortar units there. Do I have anyone in the south? I do not think so. Nope. Okay. So that's what I've got. I have 3 artillery units and 3 mortars. So who would I like to shoot at? Well, it has to be somebody that I am in contact with, that is to say adjacent to. Oh, by the way, no air. The Soviets have initiative. Right. This is a vulnerable hex. So I'm going to attack that hex. And I would like it very much if they were DG'd. Who else? Now these are all These are the Soviet units, right? And as are those. Now, they are not adjacent to anybody, so I can't target them with artillery. I do have this 4-5. The question is whether I can get a lot of units there. I think I can. This is a 2-3-2. I suspect the underlying unit, which I cannot look at due to fog of war rules, is probably a 4 or a 5 defense. And I can look at the terrain. It's in a village, which is going to shift me left. So I think that my primary goals will be to attack this hex. It's interesting. This is 4, 6, 8s, and I know I've got a couple of them. So it's tricky, isn't it? Well, definitely going to go for these two guys. They're the outliers. And so I'm going to do 3 artillery on one and 3 artillery on the other. Now this guy here is far enough out of range, right? He's just outside the 16 hex. So he is going to get the attentions of the medium guns and 2 mortars. Here, we'll do it that way. Nice even dice. So this guy right here. And let's go ahead and do those rolls. Now, which mortar? He's going to get both of the 3 factor mortars from this hex. And so we'll go with that. And we've got 2 hits. Those 2. And now I'm going to go for casualty rolls. We'll take this die out. I did get the casualty roll there. So 1 step loss. And that is as good as it could have been. We also have the DG. So now let's pause for a minute. I think he's in a village. I have to add +1 to the dice. I believe both of these dice were underneath. I think the yellow was underneath the 4, so +1 becomes a 4, and that's perfectly fine. So we'll continue on with the result that we got here. Okay. Now, this hex is going to get the 2 105s, and it's going to get the 2 factor mortar. So let's drop the dice on that barrage rather. Okay, I have a 2, which hits, and I have a 4 for one of the artillery batteries, which hits, and a 6, which of course misses. So I'm going to do the kill rolls. The 4 is not a... sorry, let me re-look at that. And you know what? The kill rolls are irrelevant because with the rules you can't ever take the last step. If I recall correctly, barrages can make 1 barrage, resolution, kill roll. Important, the last remaining step in hex can never be killed by a barrage result. So irrelevant, but I did get the DG, which is what I was hoping for in the first place. So let's do that. So I got my DG, and his defense goes down to a 2. Right, next we're going to do road march phase. I have no particular need to do road marches, and I'll remove these markers. So, and we're familiar, because I'm doing this live-ish, we don't need these markers either. So that should do it. Now, the next thing I want to do is I would like very much to do an overrun attack if I can. This guy is currently a 2, so all I need is 10 to get maximum odds. I like that idea. So with this DG stack right here, I've got a 1 attack factor. That's all I get. Then nearby, I've got 3. So that's 4. Correction, yeah, that's 4. So all I need is 6 more, which I have here. But now the other thing is, do I have to be exploit capable in order to do an overrun? Restrictions. Yeah. Oh, only units allowed to move in the exploitation phase can overrun during that phase. So the yellow marker, yeah. So the yellow box is indicative of exploit capability, but exploit capability is not required. Yeah. Exploit capability is not required. So this Pioneer unit, for example, cannot exploit, but he can overrun. However, I have to do everything out of one stack. All right, that changes things. So 1, 2, 3, and we'll do the overrun with this guy. Right, and I'll use briefly. He's coming from there. So I'll keep that around long enough for me to do some good. So we are going to be at 5-1 and a 10. That's pretty darn good. A 10 is going to get a D2 R3. D2 R3. And that destroys that unit. It's only one step. So great. Bear with me. And as an overrun, I have to, let me just make sure I've got everything I need. Yeah. I have to occupy the hex as a result of the overrun, and that stops movement for that unit. So we'll pull him out of there. So he's done his move. Next, I want to do an attack here on this unit. Now I have some troops in place, which is fine. Oh, I have the 88s. Okay, bear with me. I am going to shoot the 88s. Yeah, I'm going to shoot the 88s, and I'll leave this guy off for a moment. I'm going to shoot the 88s at this stack right here as well. And the 88s are going to 2, which is a hit. That's visible, hopefully. Yeah. I'm going to go for casualty roll 4, just out of the money for casualties, but I get my DG. So that becomes my third candidate attacking hex. Now, I'm going to attack this unit here, and they are currently a 2 in the village. So I need to bring 10 strength points. And this is going to be, if I could bring 10 in an overrun, that would be nice. I don't think I have anything currently configured to do that. Now, all I really need is 4.5. Right? Because the rounding rule will take a 4.5 and make it 5-1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to do the overrun right here. So that would be the representation of this move. Right, like that. And just to recount, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And second overrun attack. This is going to be at 4-1 odds. It's 5-1 base, but it shifts in the defender's favor due to the, and let me just confirm that, left 1 shift in combat. So that's what we got. 4-1 odds on the way. 11. I ain't making this up. 4-1, 11 is a D2 R3. So that's a pair of D2R3s in a row, and that kills that unit, which is very welcome. So let me put, actually, right, and we'll keep the dice up here. So D2R3 with the casualty on the DG'd unit. And yes, it's an overrun. I must do the advance after combat. Now I've taken a portion of the town of Sisoykan, which is very good. I'm ahead of schedule. The other attack, I own State Farm 79. That's nice. Now I could attack this DG'd set of units. There's something to be said for doing that. Okay, these guys are in contact. So let me think this through a little bit. Do I attack them or do I attack them? They're DG'd, and the top unit that I can see is a 3 becomes a 2. The best that I can hope for probably is an 8 in that stack. This could very well be an 8 as well, but it's shifted. Or I could go after this stack. Now I know, so this stack, all I can see is the 2, but I know that the rocket artillery is also there, so that's a 1. And I don't know what the other unit is. That could very well be a 5. Again, it's an 8, so I think 8, 8, or 8. It's a question of what I am interested in doing. I think I'm going to keep things nice and compact and look to have the good defensive terrain in this area, which is the village. And the DG will be its own impediment. So I need to come, in order to get 4 to 1, I need 32. Now, the overrun unit can also participate in this, right? They have simply done their combat during movement, but those 9 factors are already available. And so, assuming that this is an 8, I don't know that they are, but let's assume I would need 40. But due to the rounding rule, I can take 4 off of that. So I only really need 36. I've got 9 there. I have 9, and let's see. That's interesting. So I'm going to do some shuffles here. So that's another 9. I'm going to bring this unit down south, there, and there. This unit had formerly been here. I'm going to bring it over here because it's the 88s are an excellent defensive, have excellent defensive factors. Okay. I need to bring, well, really as much as I can get. So I will bring these guys north, and let me take these arrows out of here. Trying to do the arrows at this point would be more than a little confusing, I think. You know, I'm not certain that I'm getting all that great in odds, but this is all the force that I have available except for the 1 DG'd unit right here, which is simply a 1 point. So I think that's it. And that will be my attack. And I'm not saving anything for a subsequent exploit movement. So we'll see what the odds are. I know they can't be any better than 4 to 1 because of the town shift. So I have 9 here. I believe I have 9 here, which I do. It's 18, 20, 26, 27, 28, 34, 40. That's 5 to 1 base, shifts down, left shift. And let's have some dice. And there's reversion to mean. 3 on a 4 to 1 is an A1. Great. Well, take one of these outlying infantry units because, yeah, I either lose 2-4 or I lose 1-1, and I will lose the 1-1 any day. So that's the results for the turn. There is no exploitation. All of my exploit capable units. Now that's not entirely true. I've got the one unit here. I've got an exploit capable unit over here, but he is providing defense. Now, do I have... Yeah, that's probably what I need to do. I need to bring this guy back over and start to bring these other units in as well as I'm drawing down on my strength in this area. So no exploitation. Supply. He can trace supply through here. So we're fine. All these guys are fine on supply. They're fine on supply. These guys are fine on supply. And the one unit over at Chuvalevsky is also fine with supply. DG removal. Let me take off the DG. And, and the DG on the infantry gun. So I've simply, over at Chuvalevsky, that was a stack of 2 units, one of which was a some kind of watch unit. It was a Polish battalion, like a Polish security battalion or something like that. Good battalion. They are still DG'd, but the infantry gun for the 11th Panzer is no longer DG'd. That's my turn. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching. This has been rather long, but this is a little bit about the thought processes and such. It's not, it's not major thinking. The game is simple enough that there's not a whole lot of analysis paralysis involved. It does take a bit of time, and it takes, of course, longer to talk about it than it does to generally do it. But 3 attacks, 1, 2 factors. I think I had a couple of casualty factors as well, 1 or 2 at least from the artillery, and so yeah, that was a reasonably successful turn. Now, looking longer term, I get one more 11th Panzer activation in turn 5, and then of course 3 more in turn 6. So I've got 4 moves left, 4 turns left to do something with these guys, and they need to get quit of 5th Mech here in the next couple of activations, because 5th Mech represents a lot of mobile troops. Now, off map here, let's see if we can do that. Yeah, I don't have the camera angle quite to do it, so let's see if I can come into something. I'm going to go a bit diagonal here. So I've got to worry about this cluster of units here, which are also mobile. So this cluster and 5th Mech, and that's all that the Soviets have for mobile units. We're going to get into a bit more of a mobile phase here in turn 6 with the Germans trying to capture some of the high victory point locations, and the Soviets trying to do something about that. And so coming down to the wire when we come out of this turn. All right. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you like and subscribe, and I will see you down the road.